I'm going to try to dive into sort of what goes on with our food, specifically concentrating on organic, antibiotic-free, hormone-free, what are genetically modified ingredients, what other things will I be touching upon. I'm going to walk through a label with you, sort of grocery store label. When you go to the grocery store, what all those terms on that label mean, if they mean anything. I'm going to also walk through a little bit of an overview of my responsibilities and sort of show you what a company our size is starting to do in the realm of sustainability. So I called it Food Confusion because I felt that that was an appropriate title, and I'll get started. So who's Eaton Park Hospitality Group? Well, that's sort of the breadth of our company. Can you guys hear me? I hate standing in front of the microphone. Or do you need the microphone for me? You good? Okay. So that's sort of the footprint of our company. So you can sort of see that pretty much our circles of concentration are 400 miles outside of Pittsburgh and 400 miles outside of Allentown. We've got another office in the Allentown area, the Fogelsville area, where our other divisions of our company started. So I put Parkhurst Dining Services up top. Parkhurst Dining Services is a contract feeder. We feed, we do the school, we do the food here at Duquesne University. We do Chatham University. We do Google here in Pittsburgh. So we do corporate cafeterias as well as businesses or universities. So we go to Philadelphia, we're down in the Baltimore area, we go down into Virginia, in the Charlottesville area. So we're a company that does on-site food service for a variety of different venues. Pura Hospitality is responsible for retirement communities as well as hospitals. So St. Clair Hospital, Allegheny Health Network, Heritage Valley Hospital, many places around here that people can resonate. But we also go into upstate New York, which we don't have a tag up there, to a Hudson Valley Hospital up there. We go down into the Baltimore area. We go into pretty much that same footprint as our little P's in our Parkhurst division. Hello Bistro. Who's heard of Hello Bistro? Yeah? Good. Hello Bistro is a concept of ours as well. That's a new concept for us. That's really a salad and a burger concept. Got one in Oakland. We have one in Southside. We've got one in downtown Pittsburgh in Market Square. We got another one coming up north, up on McKnight Road. The Porch. Who's been to the Porch? Yeah? Porch is in Oakland. It's in Shenley. Shenley in Oakland. That's a farm-to-table restaurant. We have a rooftop garden. We've got bees on the rooftop for pollination. Chef there is roasting whole animals. We do a pig roast every Friday. A lot of fun, great little restaurant. Eaton Park Restaurants, obviously everyone's heard of Eaton Park Restaurants. We've got 70 of these restaurants. We've got one LEED certified restaurant. So in the Fox Chapel area, we are a gold certified LEED restaurant that we built from the ground up. And it was, there's a wind turbine in the parking lot that generates about 10% of our energy. Six Pen Kitchen, downtown Pittsburgh, corner of 6th and 10. That's another concept of ours. Another rooftop garden up there. No bees up there though. We do have a garden though. We do utilize that garden as much as possible, finding ways that we could bring maybe a local tomato, or maybe we do a tomato salad that might feature something from up there. We really try to concentrate on finding ways that we can grow enough vegetables to be able to menu it on our menu. I'm always promoting garden for purpose. If we're going to plant a garden, it's got to be a purpose of the reason why we're growing the garden. We're not growing a garden for just the heck of it. We need to be growing a garden because we're going to utilize the vegetables. A lot of our retirement communities, I'll get to that in a little bit, as well as our business accounts. We try to grow gardens that we can maybe make a pickling garden, that will pickle everything that's going to be coming out of that garden. The beets, the pickles, the cucumbers, the radishes, finding a way to put maybe that on our salad bar, or finding a way to maybe put it on a featured sandwich. So that's ways that we're utilizing the vegetables that we're growing. So what do? Well, I work with a lot of farms. I'm at farms pretty much 3 times a week. That's where usually I'm at. I'm usually not in Pittsburgh very often. Work very closely with our food supply for all of our locations. So when a request comes in from a chef, from a university, or from a business account, or a hospital, they're requesting to buy from a farm, that prompts me to go out and inspect them. So I'm doing a farm inspection when I'm going to the farms. I'm looking at them primarily for food safety concerns. When I go to a local ice cream company, I want to make sure that they're sanitizing their equipment. I want to make sure that they're doing things properly. We're dealing with a mom and pop type of operation, And some of these folks just don't know. It's funny that I've been to a local ice cream manufacturer just a few weeks ago, and they were never sanitizing their equipment. They've been in business for 50 years. They've never sanitized their equipment ever. And I'm saying, oh my God, I can't believe you haven't killed someone. They were literally just washing it with hot soapy water, and that was it. And it wasn't anything in Pittsburgh. It was in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. So things like that is why I'm in place. I'm going to the farm and looking at how we're doing. I'm following the cold chain. I want to make sure that that product continues to stay cold from the time that it leaves the processing facility to ultimately to us. If I'm looking at beef, I'm looking at poultry, I'm looking at pork, I want to make sure that the cold chain stays in place from point A to point B. I want to understand their scope of what they're doing. I also source our coffee for our company. So I'm in Costa Rica. Costa Rica is where we get our coffee from. Sourcing our coffee beans for our Eden Park restaurants as well as the whole breadth of our company. A lot of our beans are coming out of Costa Rica. We do have some Colombian plantations for blending, but the majority of it is coming out of Costa Rica. So we know the source of our supply. Is it fair trade certified? Nope. We don't really focus on fair trade. We think fair trade makes a lot of sense, but I prefer to know the source of our supply versus buying from just a label. So if you buy a fair trade label, you really don't know exactly the growing practices of that operation, nor do you understand where it really came from. Country of origin is about the only thing that you might know from fair trade. Fair trade is just, it's a very much of a commodity word now. It's not necessarily something that was the niche of what it used to be back 10 years ago when it really was starting to gain some steam. Slow food. You guys have all heard of slow food, I hope. Who has not heard of slow food? Slow Food is an organization that started out in Turin, Italy in 1987 as a revolt to fast food coming to Rome. They said, we don't want fast food here, we want slow food. So they started this revolution, or this actually a movement, it's a nonprofit organization. And I'm very active with them. PASA, who's heard of PASA? Yes? So PASA, I'm the vice president of their board. I've been on their board for about 9 years. I'm their first non-farmer that is on their executive committee. Really helping them understand and helping myself understand sort of what makes sense for local farmers to move to sustainable ways. I touch a lot of farmers, and if there's a way that I can somewhat educate PASA that they're maybe talking too high or how can we aggregate conventional farmers to move toward more sustainable ways. That's the reason why I'm on that board. It's also a great connection for myself to find new farmers that are coming about that we ultimately can integrate within our platform of our company. Grow Pittsburgh, some of you, and I hope all of you have heard of Grow Pittsburgh. If you haven't, really reach out to them and find a way that you can volunteer with them. So I volunteer quite a bit with Grow Pittsburgh. They helped me start a community garden in Homestead. So I don't live in Homestead, I live in Mount Lebanon, but I really am active with the community of where I work. And so right across the tracks in Homestead from the waterfront, we've started a community garden with Grow Pittsburgh's help with the Alligator Grows program. They'll give you $5,000 to start a community garden, and then they'll help you for 2 years, and then you're on your own. So we are on our own for our first year this year, and I have to say it's still going very well. So Grow Pittsburgh is a great organization for that. And if you ever get involved with Grow Pittsburgh, you can do some community gardens in the back of schoolyards. Or not even community gardens, I guess, backyards, school gardens in the back of K through like 6th grade, I think that they have those. So it's a great avenue to volunteer. They also have a 1-acre farm in Braddock. So if you're down in Braddock at all, they have a 1-acre farm right at the foot of the, right at the base of the steel mill. So if you see the steel mill, you go a little bit further, right on the right-hand side, there it is. So it's a great little garden. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, I would certainly check it out. They've got chickens there, and they've got vegetable production. Quite a bit of vegetable production on that. So 2007, so a little background on myself, I have to become educated in some fashion, some way. I wrote a grant, I didn't write a grant, I wrote basically, it was an opportunity for taking 26 people to Germany and Austria to understand what they were doing with organic food waste. What were they ultimately doing with it? They weren't throwing it down the garbage disposal. They weren't throwing it out to the curb. They were finding a way to divert it to compost or to biodigestion. So that first photo that I show right there is a biodigester at the back of a sewage plant. This is the back of a sewage plant in Germany. Like I said, there was 26 of us to really look at this. The goal of the project was to start a composting program for the state of Pennsylvania. That is a biodigester. This is what is heating 250 homes in a little small community out of Germany. So the sewage goes there. The sewage goes underground. It produces a gas called methane. Methane is then piped over to a gas turbine. The gas turbine then runs a boiler. The boiler produces steam. The steam is then piped to all of the homes, and that's how they heat their homes. They do not rely on any outside resources to heat their home. It's primarily done with their own waste. There's 2 farmers that also supply to that biodigester with pig waste. Pretty much the pig waste is going in there as well. There's 2 pig farms that are really close to that operation. But really pretty remarkable if you start to think about it. How are they getting away with that? How are they doing that? And we had an opportunity to witness it. Austria was diverting it towards compost. They were turning it into a soil amendment that was ultimately going into the soil for organic production. Germany was doing it as well, but Austria was much more in tune with going towards agriculture, where Germany was looking at energy. So you saw 2 different models that were ultimately introduced. We started a test pilot in the State College area about, I guess it was 2008 that we started that, and we started it for about 3 months. I have to say it was a bust. It did not work, because we had to rely on citizens and community members to put their food waste to the curb to ultimately get picked up. We have a real problem in this country that we don't understand, and we don't care about the environment. And it's a crying shame, but that's really what it is. We had to really, how do you go about educating that consumer to put that food waste to the curb and do it on a weekly basis just like you do your trash? It was a flop, I hate to say. So we have to start somewhat over at some point in time, and hopefully we'll rekindle that group together again, and we'll roll something out again, hopefully soon. 2009, I became a certified organic crop inspector. Again, I wanted to be educated. I wanted to make sure that I was educated when I went to the farm. That I wasn't someone that sat behind a desk that only knew how to run the logistics of getting a product from point A to point B. I wanted to understand agricultural practice. So I went to the IOIA, which is the International Organic Inspectors Association, to receive my certification to become a certified organic crop inspector. And this is a picture of a mock audit that we were doing. This farmer on the right-hand side had a illegal herbicide that was inside of this greenhouse that we were there to find. We did find it, and he did not pass the certification. I mean, it was a mock audit, so it was somewhat planted there on purpose. But it was really quite interesting for us to take the knowledge of what we learned and hopefully go out and find where the problem might be. Grow your own. We have a lot of our locations that are growing their own food. And when I say growing your own food, we're growing, that first picture that you saw was a lettuce room at Delaware Valley College. So all of the lettuce that is grown for our locations is coming out of a hoop house. Actually, that is actually a greenhouse that they have. This is Google. Sorry, we'll flash these pictures here in a second. But Google is the last picture that you see there, and that is a rooftop chicken coop. So we put chicken coops on the top of the rooftop on Bakery Square here in Pittsburgh. It'll be popping up. There it is. So we got a chicken coop and some raised beds. So we moved the coop from bed to bed. And I, of course, like to grow myself. This is my little small plot of garden. And grow your own, I wanted to mention not knowing the source, but growing the garden for purpose. So we have a pizza garden at one of our retirement homes where all of the ingredients that are grown in the garden that are ultimately used for the pizza toppings that are going to be used inside the kitchen. Use a garden for purpose. I really, really try to promote that because I think it's somewhat foolish to just plant a garden and never end up using it. So find a way that you can incorporate it and use it into your own production. So this is our definition of sustainability. And I think the biggest thing that I want to stress is safe and reliable food supply. So, one of the things that we work very closely with are the farmers as well as the local producers. When I say local producers, I'm talking about Breadworks and Mediterra and local ice cream places. Those are the folks that we need to make sure that, one, they're going to stay around, and secondly, they're doing things properly, that they're not going to kill someone. Now, bread, that's kind of hard to do so. But when you get into ice cream, you get into proteins. That's when we become a little bit of a concern. We continue to strengthen and educate and learn together to help improve our food system for the future. I mean, that is really what I'm trying to accomplish with working with Eden Park. How can we make sure that we have safe, reliable food supply, even from the local level or even from the national level? I'm not real concerned on the national level. I'm really focused on the local. And that's really how we define sustainability. So Farm Source. One of the programs that we started in 2002, we rolled out a program called EcoSteps. So EcoSteps is a term that we use to define our ecological steps towards sustainability. It's a broad definition. One of our first EcoSteps was our Farm Source program, which started in 2002. It was the way that we define what local means. We put a definition to the word local. No one, at least none of our competitors, necessarily have a definition that defines local. Local to some people might be 100 miles. Local to others might be 25 miles. Our local is 150. For produce, produce is 150. Dairy is sourced from independent, I stress independent dairies within 150 miles that do not treat their herd with RBST. Who's heard of RBST? Yeah? What is it? It is a hormone, recombinant bovine somatropin or recombinant bovine growth hormone. One and they're interchangeable. RBST or RBGH are all the same. It's a growth hormone they inject into the cow at the farmer level. The farmer injects the cow to increase the production of milk to 7 to 10%. We opt to not use this hormone. We will ask a dairy to either you eliminate this hormone from your milk supply, or we'll find someone else that will. And that's really what we made a stand on. I would say almost everyone in Western Pennsylvania, in regards to a dairy, Schneider Dairy, Turner Dairy, Malberger Dairy, all eliminated RBST from their fluid milk around 2008. We were able to do this in 2005, so we've been promoting this since 2005. It took us a little time to get it moving, but we were able to make it happen. I remember sitting at a table with a farmer, a dairy farmer, sitting across the table, and he says, "Are you paying me more money for my milk?" And I said, "No, I'm not." However, I think the end result is that it's cheaper for them not to use the hormone than it is to use it. The reason for that is that there's two things. One, the hormone costs money. And second, the cows end up getting mastitis. Mastitis is the hardening of the udders, and that ends up having almost cottage cheese come out of the udder out of the cow, which cannot be sold, not be used. So they have to dump it. So the result of the two ultimately is a wash to not use the hormone. And that's what we've seen. That's what we've seen with a lot of dairy farmers. They've come out to us and told us that we're not necessarily losing money. Meat animals are sourced within a 5-hour drive from the processing facility. This is the only one that's not 150 miles. If I could put a 400-mile radius, that's probably more realistic of what that means. So that we're really looking at a little bit longer of a distance for meat. And the reason being is the lack of processing facilities that are in the Western Pennsylvania area. I mean, if we really try to, how are we going to really source a lot of local meat if we don't have anyone to be able to process it for us? This processing facility, this is Hatfield Meats, and they're out of Philadelphia area, or Hatfield, Pennsylvania, and that's where that's where a lot of our pork is coming from for our locations. Artisanal is really about the local businesses and the local companies. And those are, and I'll plug the Breadworks and the Mediterraneans and the Turner Dairies and maybe the Turner Dairies, they fall under our dairy. But just the local businesses. The local businesses is what we want to support. This is a picture of Parma sausage in the Strip District. We support them quite a bit on a few different things. And we like to support the local businesses. So artisanal is another category that we do. Last year, through our Farm Source program, we purchased $23.6 million of local food under this definition. And that goes through all of our sources of our supply, not all of our sources of supply. I do a report for Philadelphia, I do a report for Western Pennsylvania, Central Pennsylvania, Ohio, Central Ohio, Southern Ohio, and I do another one for Baltimore. So it pretty much pulls in all of our locations, and out of all of those locations, with that definition, for someone that's in Philadelphia or in Harrisburg, that definition still applies, but it looks at where that location is at. Does that make sense? And so I do a pretty extensive Excel spreadsheet that pulls in all of those vendors and all of the sources of the supply that we work with, that we can get a true number of exactly what we're buying locally. I give that report to every one of our locations. Out of the whole 180 locations, they can see exactly what they purchased and whom and from whom. So it's a really dynamic report. It's taken me quite some time to put together, but it's really a great report. So the next thing is going to go through a quick video to talk about our local businesses and local families that we worked with. It ties in a little bit of our Farm Source program, but it also talks about the local family businesses that we work with. And it's really centered around Eaton Park, not necessarily centered around our partnership here today. So I'll let that go. I'm Jamie Moore. At Eaton Park, our goal is to partner with the finest local family-owned producers of food in our communities, like Turner Dairy. Located in western Pennsylvania, the Turner family has been producing award-winning milk and dairy products locally since 1930.
Jamie, we source our milk exclusively from our dairy farm partners right here in western Pennsylvania. These partnerships span multiple generations. The family dairy farms that we do business with have a higher standard for quality than your typical dairy farm. And what they do that's so important is that they keep the cows clean, keep their equipment clean, and really watch the health of these dairy cows to make sure that they're producing the best and the highest quality milk.
In addition to milk, we also serve Turner's delicious cottage cheese and sour cream. This is really good. And we use Turner's buttermilk exclusively in the preparation of our homemade ranch dressing. Another local brand we are proud to partner with is Coffee Tree Roasters. The business is owned and operated by the Swoop family. They hand select the highest quality coffee beans sourced through La Manita Coffee Plantation in Costa Rica for the custom espresso blends we use in our specialty coffee beverages.
Jamie, because your beans are roasted here locally, they are literally the freshest in town.
Next stop, Parma. Parma is a local family business that specializes in the production of a variety of Italian meats. They use only the highest quality ingredients, starting with fresh pork and spices.
Jamie, this is the heart of Parma. Look, we have guanciale, we have pancetta, sopressata, Genoa, rustico, a little bit of pepperoni. This is it, the aromas. Wonderful, isn't it?
It is amazing.
We still make our products like my grandfather Alessio and my father Luigi did in the old country in Corsica in the 1930s and 40s. My father came over to Pittsburgh in 1954. Our products are still made with great pride every day, knowing the taste is the most important way to keep people happy. Jamie, this is our Capicola getting ready to be cooked, packaged, and delivered to Eaton Park.
We serve Parma Capicola in our Italian breakfast club sandwich and Parma chorizo in our breakfast burrito. Fresh, local products from the neighborhood. That always makes me smile.
Salute a familia.
Salute. Who's been to the upstairs at Parma? Yeah? You drink a lot of red wine there. So Eaton Park is really seeing values in this, seeing value in using us or using a local source or promoting local to our consumers or our customers. And one of the things that we termed was knowing the source. So know your source is a term that we use to really talk about where our sources of our supply come from. We want to know the source of where our cotton's coming from, where our strawberries are coming from, where our coffee's coming from. Some of the far reach items that maybe you don't associate it with local, but you do associate it with where did it come from? Where did that pork come from? Where did that beef come from? Was it treated with antibiotics? Was it treated with hormones? We want to know that, right? So one of the things that the next portion of this presentation is really going to dive into some of those labels and some of those terms that you might exist out there. Because that's going to be the next phase of where we're trying to take things. We want to make sure that we're educating and being very transparent to our customer about where our food's coming from. So what do you want on a label? They want to be meaningful, accurate, credible, transparent. We want to know who is it from? Where's it coming from? What ingredients are used? Where? What's the country of origin? When? When's the sell-by date? How's it processed and the technology that's used? The next few slides are coming from the Animal Welfare Approved Organization. So a lot of the things that I'm pulling from here are the next few, actually this and a few other ones are coming directly from Animal Welfare Approved. It's a presentation that I heard at some point in time and I stole some of the information because I thought it was applicable to what we're doing. So we're going to walk through this label. We're going to walk through this label and sort of define it and break it down. So we see a few words on here. You see the word fresh? So you see the word fresh up there. Fresh is a term, no antibiotics ever. Tender, well, tender is, I don't know what the hell that means. Fed all vegetable diet, no animal byproducts, humanely raised, raised cage-free, no hormones or steroids added. That's what we're going to talk about. Now I'm going to hopefully educate you a little bit about what that label really means. Fresh. The only thing the word fresh means is never frozen. It's stored at above 26 degrees, or it never went below 26 degrees. Purely all natural disclaimer has nothing to do with how animals are raised. I know that everyone thinks natural is really the cool thing, right? Natural means a lot of great things. It really means nothing. It means that the meat contains no artificial ingredients or added colors. That's all it means. And it's minimally processed. So if you bought chicken that is marinated with Cajun seasoning, it can't carry the natural label. That's all that really means. It doesn't say anything about hormones or antibiotics. It has nothing about that whatsoever. Vegetarian diet, chickens are fed a diet free of animal byproducts. However, there is no legal definition for this claim, and there are no independent checks on farms related to this claim. So no one's really looking at that. So if you're a chicken producer, I can put it on anything that I want. And people do, I'm telling you now. This label is from Purdue. This is out of Purdue, out of Maryland. This is a real label. If you go to Target right now, you can go buy this chicken. And they have this same label. So it's actually, they don't have that same label. It says Target chicken or something like that. But exactly the same things that they claim are on there. They have exactly the same things. Humanely raised, there's no legal definition or minimally agreed welfare standard for the term humane. Yes, you could use it anytime, a lot of poultry people use it. A lot of beef producers are putting the word humanely raised on the label. If you don't see a third-party certification of humanely raised, the manufacturer can do whatever they want. So look for a third-party verifier for the humanely treated. If there was a humanely treated animal welfare approved logo on it, then they're going out there and inspecting it for humane treatment. Okay? But if you don't see a label from a third-party certifier, it's their traditional standard. If they believe they're humanely raising their animal, they're going to put it on the label. Cage-free. All meat birds are raised without cages. There's never a meat bird inside of a cage ever. It is such a lie that they put it on the label, but they do, because it sounds sexy, right? It's cage-free. That's good. Cage-free is only in egg production. It is not in meat production. There has never been hormones and steroids inside chicken or pork. They put it all over the labels. There has never been hormones or steroids in either of those categories. In beef production, there are hormones. In lamb production, there are hormones. So those are the only, well, there's probably some other ones. Probably goats probably have hormones as well, but we don't eat a lot of goat in this country. But that's the only places that you're seeing hormones. Are there antibiotics that act like hormones? Do they increase growth? The answer is yes. There are antibiotics in poultry. There are antibiotics in meat. But this says no antibiotics ever. It says there was no antibiotics ever in this product. So that's a good claim. Two different types of antibiotics. Anyone know what they are? Subtherapeutic and therapeutic antibiotics. What do they mean? Yep.
Subtherapeutic is giving them antibiotics before they get sick.
Yep.
And therapeutic is treating them after they're sick.
Correct. So majority of the poultry in the industry right now is subtherapeutic antibiotics. They're putting antibiotics in the feed or the water, so every single animal that's in that hen house is getting a dose of antibiotics. We've heard about antibiotic resistance. Humans getting antibiotic resistance, they're resistant to the antibiotics because they're living too close to a poultry house that is using some therapeutic mechanisms. They're feeding their animals all of this antibiotics. It's going into the groundwater, I'm drinking it, now I got a cold and I can't get better because the antibiotics aren't working, because I have an immunity to that antibiotic. So those are the real, I think, that the real big issue that I see is antibiotics. Hormones is certainly a concern. I don't know enough about it, so I can't necessarily speak highly of it if you know a lot about antibiotics. So what I really believe is therapeutic antibiotics. Okay, I get it. If the animal gets sick or you get sick, you want to get better, right? So if I can find a way to give you an antibiotic to get better, that would be a great thing. But I should not be able to give every animals in the hen house and antibiotic. And that's really what's happening. So the industry is hopefully moving away from that. You're starting to see McDonald's just made a claim that they're going to eliminate human antibiotics from their production. Well, human antibiotics, the industry is moving towards away from using human antibiotics, effective, I think it's 2016. So McDonald's made a claim, but the reality of it is the industry was already moving in that direction. So it's a nice way to be able to promote something that they can say that they're doing, but the industry's already moving. So those are the labels that are on a chicken label. So, cage-free eggs, birds raised without cages. Does everyone think that that's cage-free eggs? If I told you that's cage-free eggs, would everyone go, yeah, that looks like cage-free, that looks pretty neat. Right? That's cage-free. There's 40,000 chickens inside the hen house. Mortality rate in this environment is 10%. Mortality rate inside of a cage is 1%. Why is it so high in a cage-free environment? They put too many in. They got 60,000 inside the caged operation. They got 40,000 in here. Same size, same space. Who's hard to tell? Yep.
Is it because the interaction, they either share diseases or they might even get territorial and fight one another?
Big time. And also, the term chickens flock together. When it rains and thunder and lightning ends up happening outside, and it's windy outside, all of these chickens all end up in one corner of the hen house. What do you think happens to the chickens underneath? They don't survive. So the mortality rate in this environment is much higher than a caged operation. A caged operation, Napoleon Dynamite is the best definition I can give you what a caged environment looks like. Everyone seen Napoleon Dynamite? Maybe some of you? Where there's a bunch of chickens, 3 levels high. That's a caged environment. There's 4 chickens inside of those cages. They live on about, their space of living is about the size of this for 4 chickens. But the mortality rate in that environment is much, much less. So it's just more of an education. A lot of people perceive that photo that I showed you earlier as being cage-free. That's at Polyface Farm in Virginia, if anyone's been to Polyface Farm. Really a cool operation, but you know, they're not selling. They're selling those eggs at $5 a dozen. A little bit too pricey for a food operation like ours. So government certifications. Government certifications, I'm going to touch upon USDA organic. So USDA organic, if you didn't want to have genetically modified foods, focus on USDA organic. Animals must be fed organically fed ingredients. Animals must have access to the outdoors, and animals cannot be cloned. Crops cannot grow using synthetic fertilizers or sewage sludge. Yep, you can use sewage sludge when growing conventional vegetables in the United States. A lot of people don't know that, but that still is used in today's society, especially larger farms. So you're using sewage sludge from human waste for production of our vegetables. So why do people turn towards organic? 46% say the main reason is toxic pesticides, antibiotic drug residue, and concerns over genetically modified. I think that we would all agree upon that, that's the reason why we concentrate on it. Seafood, what the heck happened there? Don't be fooled if you see an organic label on a piece of fish. The USDA doesn't even have the requirement in place for seafood yet. For now, keep buying the regular stuff. I put that on there because a lot of people say, oh, I got this organic salmon. It might be organically farm-raised salmon, but it's not organically wild-caught salmon. And I don't still think that they have organic farm-raised salmon that exist out there. So the terms out there that you're starting to see, and hopefully we're not seeing the label organic on seafood without them going through a third party, but some people may promote it without. They shouldn't, and they're not allowed. They will get sued, but to carry that USDA organic certification, you have to go through a third party to get that verified, and someone's going to your farm, going to your operation to inspect it. The seafood does not have it. So I love to put this slide up there. And see the date up there, July 2008. And you see the companies, Conagra, M&M Mars, Cadbury Schweppes, Heinz. This is all the acquisitions of organic companies that came under Heinz. So Heinz acquired all of these brands. Dean Foods did all of these brands. I know I'm standing in front of people, sorry. But that's what happened, and that's 2008. Coca-Cola, Honest Tea, Walla, Naked Juice by Pepsi, Kellogg's got a few things in there. So you start to see, wow, this is big industry. Guess who writes the organic standards for the United States USDA program?
Big industry.
Big industry, you got it. Guess who sits on the National Organic Standard Board? Kellogg's, Driscoll, General Mills, Coca-Cola, Pepsi. No small little local farms any longer. It used to be a grassroots type of organization that started USDA Organic. Not any longer. 2008, look today. That's 2014. Look at all the companies that came into play here. You got Nestle that came into play. You got Hershey Foods that came into play. Schneider and Lance with their snack foods. Purdue Foods. You got a lot of different players out there. It's big industry. It's big dollars. And people are obviously, the big businesses are jumping on board in the organic world. So is organic being watered down? Yeah, I would agree. So if I have Muir Glen, which is part of General Mills, sitting on the organic board for tomatoes, they're allowing certain synthetic pesticides or herbicides to be approved for organic production. We're getting a watered down organic program. And we'll continue to get it watered down as long as we have large industry involved. Other third-party certifications, Certified Humane, there's a bunch of others. Food Alliance certification is pretty much West Coast. We don't see a lot of Food Alliance certification out here. Marine Stewardship Council is looking for seafood. Rainforest Alliance, that is really bananas, that's coffee, that's cocoa. That's really third world, not third world, I mean, it's outside of this country where we're just seeing Rainforest Alliance. Certified Humane and then Fair Trade. Those are all third-party certifications that someone is physically going out to inspect the farm. Who's heard of naturally grown, certified naturally grown? Certified naturally grown, you can see it, you won't see it in the grocery store, but you will see it at the farmer's market. Certified naturally grown, I think, is a great program for someone that is growing organically, that is not large enough to be able to sell into a grocery store, but still follows the standards for organic. However, there's not a third-party certifier. It's, I'm a farmer, you're a farmer, I'm going to inspect your farm, you inspect my farm. So it's sort of like a give and take. Now, can it be watered down? Sure. If the inspector that is my buddy, and I say, hey man, just let that be, that's not a big deal. That can happen. And that's what ends up happening with sort of Food Alliance, not Food Alliance, but Certified Naturally Grown. But I think Certified Naturally Grown is awesome. And I don't bash it at all. I think it's a great program, especially for a small grower. I think you have to have under 5 acres to be certified naturally grown. They're not going to certify you to be larger. Might be more than that. Might be 10. It's a small number though. So labeling, genetically modified, irradiation, and cloning, GMO. Everyone is confused with how many GMO crops that exist out there. That's it, guys. This is all of them. This is all of them. There's not any more than this right now approved in the United States. Soybeans is number one. 94% of all soybeans in this country are genetically modified. Sweet corn as well as filled corn. Papaya. I would have never guessed papaya, but I got this list and I was like, papaya. If we didn't have genetically modified, we would not have papaya today. So they actually saved the market. It's one of the only positives about genetically modified. All of our oil that we use is canola. It's all genetically modified in this country. All the cotton, 96%, not all. There are some canola facilities that are not doing genetically modified. Alfalfa, sugar beets. So all the sugar that we consume here in western Pennsylvania is not coming from sugar cane, it is coming from beets, and it's turned into sugar. And it's being genetically modified. Summer squash. So some people say I can't have a hard time growing summer squash because it ends up getting powdery mildew. They've got a resistance to powdery mildew on the summer squash crop that was introduced 2 years ago to the United States. At this point in time, our United States government allows genetically modified to be approved without going through any testing phase. So you're going to see a large amount of genetically modified start to populate our shelves very, very soon. And it has a lot to do with just, I guess the lobbyists of Monsanto have been able to really change the paradigm of saying that they think they have been able to dupe the government to say, hey, this is the way that we need to move if we need to feed this world. And so we're going to start to see a lot more genetically modified ingredients. But if we start to drill this down a little bit, and if we start to think about what food we can consume without genetically modified, it becomes kind of hard. Because all of our sugar is now genetically modified. Not all, but a lot of it. You know, sorry. All of our cotton, our canolas, the things that we're frying is fried and genetically modified. It's something to think about. This is a symbol for irradiation, and we certainly don't want to have clone milk. I want the labeling. If someone's going to start to do cloning, don't you want to know that you're eating clone milk? Or clone milk from a cloned dairy animal? I think I do. So I think this comes down to labeling. There's some things that we would like to have on the label to let you know that it's genetically modified, to let you know that it's cloned. So what's next? So, you know, we do the food for Chatham University, and we do use the food study students. I use them for a bunch of different projects. The first project that I worked on was food perceptions. I wanted them to put together the definitions of everything that they know in the food industry. What's cage-free mean? What's fair trade mean? What does genetically modified mean? Put all these terms on one document, give it to me. They did that. From that, I ended up concentrating on genetically modified. Provide the positives and negatives around genetically modified. What are they? Are there any positives? Are there any negatives? What are the negatives? What if we end up using genetically modified? What is the problem with them? I want to know. I want to educate senior management within our company that maybe we make a change to step away from genetically modified, which I think would be very hard. However, it's Cheerios did it. But they were able to put a label on something that was never genetically modified. Did a pretty good job. And antibiotics, I'm working on a project right now, and they're going to be doing our presentation next week to senior management about antibiotics. What antibiotics are being used in the farm? What antibiotics are we using within our production? And what can we physically step away from without increasing our costs to the bottom line for our consumer? And so we're really working closely with them when we do deep dives. That might be it. Any questions I can answer? Yes?
Going back to when you were talking about different restaurants that have their own gardens and their own things, is there some sort of process or that you have to go through to be approved for? Using something like that, I bring something from my own garden and use it in a restaurant, or does that have to go through?
I think you could use something from your own garden, but you'd have to, like for me, I would really encourage our locations to go through a garden primer. We have a course that we actually go through Grow Pittsburgh. They come into our office. They teach the folks that want to start a garden the proper way of growing organically. We look at organic production first. We're not looking for our chefs to go out to the garden and put herbicides and pesticides on plants and then come into the kitchen and start cooking. So we really look at them to follow organic standards and let it grow. If it gets eaten by bugs, oh well. That's the way we really look at it. We're not looking for them to be, we're not gardeners, we're not farmers, we're chefs. So for us, we look at it as, it's a nicety, it's not necessarily a necessity. So I would really, if you're gonna look to purchase or look to grow things, grow it organically or grow it without any synthetics and grow it naturally. I think that's probably the best way that you can make sure that you're not gonna harm someone. Because if you do something and then your other sous chef does something else and your other line cook does something else to it, you've got a mess on your hands. So I think that one person oversees the garden is probably the best way to do it. At least that's what we've had success with. And really step away from allowing a lot of hands in the mix. I think that's the best way to handle it.
So like, I know you were saying with Grow Pittsburgh, like if I went through a plot with like a community garden or something like that, there'd be those kind of resources there as well.
There is. They have garden primers. They hold garden primers about 3 or 4 times a year. You can contact them and see if you can go through a garden primer. They hold them all throughout the city. Definitely something I would encourage you to do. Any other questions? No? Thank you for your time. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to ask you about your own background. How did you come from, how did you come about being so interested in this? What was your way into art?
Navy chef, cook. Got out of the Navy, went to Penn State. Penn State, married a farmer's daughter. Started milking cows. And the rest was history. I mean, I think my in-laws were my influence.
The reason I really thought there must be more background to just somehow working as a chef for Eaton Park was the trip to Austria and that type of thing too. Was that within Penn State or?
That was actually here when I was working for Eaton Park. There was an opportunity, and they were looking for people that would go. I paid money out of my own pocket, I think $2,000 to go, but they had all the room and board and all transportation paid for. So it was just, they were looking for a large aggregator of food to go on the tour, and that was it. I got selected. So I had to write an essay, and then I got accepted. Basically told them what I do and what I'm responsible for. They were looking for someone like me, so it worked out. Anything else? Yes?
I just wanted to comment or pick the point, I guess, on the whole organic thing. I'm vegan
Yep.
and I use it
Organic?
as much as possible. But it's just hard
Yeah.
to see a company that we were trying to 15 years ago move away from have now come in. And I guess, you know, in business they say you have an exit strategy. So I guess the companies that were organic and, you know, vegan or whatever, they have an exit strategy that when these big companies came to buy them out, they just gave in.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really sad because, you know, I mean, who knows what they're doing to the food now?
Well, there's still someone out there as an inspector inspecting under the standards that exist. So you can go online and you can look up the National Organic Standard Board, which is the people that are developing the standards. And then you can look at the NOP, the National Organic Program. The National Organic Program will spell out exactly what's being used, synthetics. There are synthetics that are allowed in the National Organic Program. Maybe not as harsh as organics or harsh as synthetics, but they still exist. I just think a lot of people don't realize that, you know, organic doesn't necessarily mean that there's no synthetics. There are still some synthetics that are used. So it's just, it's more, I try to just educate, and if you look into it, you can see what they're using and what they're not using. I really say know your farm and know your source.
I know,
Know the people where you're getting your food from.
that's the thing.
Like I drink raw milk, I'm not drinking raw milk from someone I don't know. Sorry.
Yeah, that's the thing, it's, you know, we've gone away from local farming, now that's the big conglomerate, and, you know, the way it's good to see local people go in their neighborhoods have their organic gardens. Even in New York City, I have friends in New York who, on their rooftop of their job, they don't have something at work, but at home, but at work they have, where they put on Facebook, tomatoes, they just got zucchini, and they're going to cook it, you know, and so that's really, you know, what's old is new again, I guess.
That's it, exactly right. It all comes around full circle, right?
Right.
So, any other questions? Thank you again for your time.